Hey, so welcome to the show today. Next week's life is going to have a really fun time with Karl Boissonneault, and I hope I got that right, Karl.
Well done, Mike. Well done.
Thank you. So this show is going to be extra special. We got someone from Xerox for the first time in 41 episodes. So, Karl, we're honored to have you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. And for our guests, Karl, you may not know. Obviously, he spends a lot of time on the road. I think it's a new position for Karl. He's the president of the North American channels, both North America, meaning obviously America and Canada. So our friends up north. So Karl, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks, and glad to be here again, Mike. And thanks for the opportunity.
Well, it's believe me, it's our honor. So some real simple questions first. How long have you been with Xerox?
So, hey, listen, it'll actually be 10 years in a month. So, I joined August 2nd, 2014. Which, if you've come across Xerox people in your life, which I'm sure you have, Mike, I'm a newbie because
Yeah.
most of my peers have been with Xerox for 20, 25, 30 years. Um, and so, yeah, no, I've been in Xerox for 10 years. I've been in channel roles for the bulk of those 10 years, supporting all different types of channels. So, our agents, our dealers, resellers, distributors, and having a blast.
Well, 10 years, you're right. You're a newbie. I
I
don't
am.
know. I'm pretty friendly with Darren Cassidy. I think he's been
Yeah,
there since birth. So,
yeah, yeah. No, he's been around for a while. So, and he's back in the UK now and doing a great job managing our UK and our direct business in Europe. But no, I mean he's a great example of the loyalty, the tenure, and the passion that we have that we're lucky to have with many of our employees at Xerox.
so 10 years gives you pretty interesting footprint with the company. It's gone through a lot of changes over the course of the last 10 or 15 years, pretty much like everybody in the industry.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, with the recent changes that are call it really in the industry. I mean, there's a lot of print discussion, IT services discussion. If you were going to paint a picture for the community, not just the Xerox resellers and so on, but for the community at large, where do you see Xerox in 5 years from now?
So we want to be a lot more present in the channels. Not that we aren't already, by the way, Mike. And this is a big misconception of Xerox, right? That we have been really truly a direct focused company, but we have a pretty robust network of partners globally. In fact, a sizable portion of our business today, upwards of 25%, comes through our channel partners. 5 years from now, we expect that number to be bigger, right? And how do we do that? Well, by ensuring that we continue to provide more value to our partners, but also supporting them in some of the shifts that you're touching on in the industry around how do we capture more opportunity in print, but also around print. What are the opportunities that come from potentially managing other endpoint devices? Are they managed IT devices? Are there around managed IT services? What about digital services? What do we do with the opportunity where companies are looking to transform their data into actionable or quote unquote intelligent data to help AI perform the way it will perform because I'm sure you've heard this before, Mike, but AI is nothing without data. And that's the opportunity I think this industry has is we manage data every day. We have data go across our devices every day. So how do we make sure we help clients get the full value of that data as we enter this new, you know, some call the fifth industrial revolution with Gen AI, but I mean, there's clearly a shift out there of accelerating digital transformation. I think that's where 5 years from now, our partners will be much more specific in their offerings. They will be seen as business advisors to their clients. They will be in print and beyond print, and they will be subject matter experts in digital transformation. That's why I think that's where I think we'll see this industry 5 years from now.
So interesting. So, and by the way, I have personally noticed, and frankly been very grateful to see Xerox participate in some of the things we've been doing. Last couple of years with the Executive Connection Summit, your
Yep.
sponsorship, we thank you
Yep.
for. But it's very clear for anyone that's looking that you're taking a more visible position
Yep.
at various events and meetings. So
Yep.
you say you're suggesting that's going to continue and
100%.
frankly grow.
100%. I mean, that's where I spend the bulk of my time, right? Is meeting dealers. And we actually came out of a meeting last week, Mike, where we had our dealer advisory council in Vegas, where we listened to a group of 9 of them kind of share with us what we're doing well, what we need to do better, where we can continue to work together as we go forward. And I share with them what I'm going to share with you now, which is we have what I believe to be a unique opportunity in the US specifically, because contrary to most OEMs, we don't have a well established, long tenured dealer channel. So this is an opportunity for us to go and recruit more partners. And for the ones that we have, only for a select few of them, we're actually their number one brand. So we continue to have an opportunity to go and make sure that we can capture more mind share even in the partners that we do have. And how do we do that? Well, it's not just through products, it's through the programs, it's through the support, it's through leveraging the Xerox brand name, and not the brand name for what it stands for just from a brand perspective, but from an innovation perspective, from a technology perspective. Being in the most of the conversations I have with dealer owners, Mike, are not about the product. It's about how we're transforming our service experience and how they can leverage some of the things we're doing, right? How are we leveraging some of the opportunities around, like I said, digital transformation, and how we can make sure that they can tap into that, right? How we're shifting how we typically bring products at an enterprise level to bring them as a channel ready first level, right? To make sure that we can transact some of these services through our dealer network. So I think that's the opportunity that I see that's unique for Xerox, and obviously my role is to make sure that people are aware of that. So being more visible, participating in more of the industry events, going out there, traveling, spending time with partners is one of the ways we're making sure we're doing so.
So actually, I ran into Adam Gregory, I believe, right after your meeting. He came to Southern California for BTA, and
Yeah,
he was pretty excited about your meeting. So I'm assuming he's one of your dealer advisory
he is.
council.
He is. He is. He actually told me a great story about his time in California, how his speech was interrupted by a rocket launch. I said, well, I don't know many people who can say that they had a rocket launch interrupt their speech, but no, he mentioned obviously, and we were present at that BTA event as well, right in South California. But no, he's certainly one of our members, and we appreciate the feedback that him and his peers are bringing to our community.
Actually, the SpaceX thing was pretty funny. Right in the middle of his speech, all of a sudden, it was beauty, thing of beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so how many dealers do you have in the dealer advisory council?
9.
9, and from all over the country or
Correct.
country.
And small and big.
Awesome. So when I listen to some of the things that are going on in the marketplace, from the dealers, obviously I'm getting around just like you. Xerox, it seems the vibe is good. The things that I'm hearing from people, it's almost like a resurgence or reinvigoration. So was there a point in time the last year or so you can say we started this program then and it's working? What would you tell us about that?
So I think the term we use is reinvention. That's
Okay.
what we're using internally. And our reinvention is really around 3 prongs, Mike, right? So the first one is to simplify our print business. And part of that, there's many things that kind of fall into that, but part of it is also this shift that we publicly announced to say that we're going to move in globally in some countries from a direct presence to an indirect presence, right? So again, which it's further strengthening the amount of resources, programs, and infrastructure we have to support our channel business. So that's one key element. It also means simplifying some of our product SKUs offerings and making sure that what we have is more easily something that people can transact. When we say that we're moving from a direct to indirect model in specific countries, it doesn't mean we're exiting the countries. What it means is we're actually doubling down on our partners to help us grow the business in those countries, right? That's what we're doing. And because we believe that they have a better ability to do so based on their local presence than based on our infinite, direct presence that we have. So that's one of the areas. And then in the countries where we do continue to have a direct presence, like the U.S., Canada, and France, UK, and others, really then it comes down to a coverage strategy. How do we make sure that we can go and retain what we have, but also go and capture more market share in this market, the print market that we know is not a growing one, right? It's all about how do we win more share. And we believe the way to do that is through our partner network. So again, that's one of the prongs around simplifying our print business or print go to market. The second one is simplifying how we're structured within Xerox so that we're easier to do business with and within Xerox. We're a 120-year-old company, Mike, right? We've, hundreds of acquisitions, tons of legacy systems. And as you move into an era where you want to transact on a monthly level, whether it be licenses or services, I mean, you've got to have the infrastructure to enable you to do that. And as long as we keep building over things that are, legacy, we'll never be able to scale and really free up the burdens that we've got, that were the shackles that we've got around our wrists that are holding us back. So, and you don't change a company by changing a system. You change a company by changing, yes, the system, but also the processes and the people supporting those processes, which is what we're calling our global business services function. So rewiring the company, organizing the company so that it's better structured and better aligned to support where we want to grow, which is again through our partners for the print business, but also, which leads to the third prong, is taking some of those savings and reinvesting in growth areas, which will be again our partner network, but also on the IT services and digital services, enabling our direct teams to go and capture the opportunity in those areas, which we know are growing markets. So those are really the three things: simplifying our print business, our launching our global business service practice, as well as reinvesting in the growth opportunities that are in IT services and digital services. So that's what we put out a year ago. We're accelerating that this year. We also were excited about the new board we announced a couple of weeks ago, right? We've got some, if you notice, there's a lot of people with a technology background, COOs, CIOs, and they're coming in here to help us with, really changing and accelerating our transformation as we go forward into really a technology powerhouse. So we're taking that vibe, that momentum to the market, and honestly, and partners are bringing that same momentum to us. They're excited to see what we're doing. They're excited to hear what we're doing, and I think they're feeling also the change that's occurring out there around, the strategy we have, the clarity behind the strategy, and honestly, Mike, it's a strategy that many of our dealers have themselves, right? I
Mm.
mean, so every company I talk to wants to do the same thing. How do you simplify your print business? How do you simplify, streamline your operations, and how do you capture the market opportunities? So it's allowing for really a frank conversation and information sharing, best practice sharing conversation, which I truly believe is how we can partner together with our dealers to grow our respective businesses.
Yeah, you just took the word I was going to say that I got from you, which is just now. You're acting like a real partner, and they're acting like a real partner. If you can get that aligned, Katie bar the
Yeah,
door, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I am kind of curious. And by the way, just on a personal level, I can't even imagine this business without a majestic Xerox brand always being present.
yeah,
So, I mean that sincerely. I can't imagine a print industry where Xerox isn't a dominant footprint. So, my hat's off to you. Now, taking that further, I've got a lot of experience in the world of infrastructure
yeah,
and ERP, and I couldn't agree more. So, if you're focused, you can't be easier to work with unless you have a system and a process in place that makes that happen.
you got
So,
it.
is there anything you can share with us on what you intend to do in streamlining that system?
Yeah, I mean, so we've actually built our what we call the Xerox Reinvention Office, and it contains many work streams and different activities within those work streams to make sure that as you're changing systems and different business practices, that there's always interdependencies between each of them to make sure that those interdependencies are understood and laid out and mapped out so that as we transition towards the end game, we make sure we come out with a successful outcome. So I think we're starting with some key processes, right? So I'll give you a few. So record to report, hire to retire, procure to pay, right? So all things that might be done individually in silos right now, we're trying to streamline those at a global level. Um, again with the intent to take some cost out, take some complexity out, and allows us to free up some cash to reinvest in the areas that we want to grow. So I mean, those are some easy examples, Mike. Obviously there's a lot of work behind that, a lot of people that are moving from their day jobs to doing that job as a full-time project going forward. But here's the one thing I will tell you is we are very, very impatient. We want to act quickly. We want to move on these things quickly. So we're being very aggressive with some of the timelines we're setting forth because we know that this is a moment in time opportunity for us to capture.
So when you're looking at, and that's good to know. I like what you say. I like the way you say it. Streamlining and easy and taking costs out is always a good thing, but the number one thing always has to be value, right? So
Yep.
making sure your value is there. So it sounds like that's happening. Are you? Do you have? Is there a goal you have in mind? Like you want to double down on your resellers or distribution? How many more dealers or resellers do you wish to have in what period of time?
It's a good question. I don't think it's a quantity at this point, Mike. I'm looking for quality. I want people who want to be partners with us, right? I want people who want, to your point, to see the Xerox brand succeed. People, and you'd be I'm maybe not surprised, but it's something that I'm impressed with almost on a weekly basis with the number of partners that, after venting for an hour on all the things we do wrong, will actually say, you know what, though? We really love you guys. Like, we want you guys to succeed. We need you guys to succeed, right? So I think, making sure that we've got partners who want to jump in with us, who understand that it's not going to be easy from day one, but that we're committed to doing this together, that we want to grow with them. That's what I'm interested in. So we don't necessarily set goals on quantities but I want to, my goal ultimately is to double this business. That's what I want to do, right? So
Okay.
I want to double this dealer business in the U.S. Last year, I was telling the guys I wanted to triple it, but right now I'm going to say I want to double it because I want to make sure we do it with the right partners at the right time, and I truly believe we have the opportunity to do so.
Well, to everybody listening out there, you just got a good peek at what he's going to be trying to do the next year. So double the business.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
anyone who's interested in being a Xerox reseller, I
Yeah.
know the guy. I know people. So another quick question. So you mentioned IT services, which clearly means a million things to a million people. But can you touch a little bit more on that? Is that something when you say double the business? What part of that is going to contribute to doubling that business?
So I don't. So in the short term, some of it, but it's not going to be a big part of it. I think our immediate opportunity with dealers is around print and revenue related around print. So to answer your question specifically in IT services, um, many dealers actually play in IT services right now, but very few of them have a full scope of offerings, right? So very few of them will have a full blown managed cybersecurity offering or a managed virtual CIO offering, or all the different types of functions or towers you can have within an IT practice. We're not interested in enabling people to resell hardware. That's not what we're about. We're about making sure that we've got some specific offerings that they can basically use us as an outsourced vendor to their existing practice and leverage the scope of what we have, whether it be regional or national, to complement what they have. I mean, so that's really the intent. So to simplify what I just said, I want to be able to put a SKU on a service with a clear cost attached to it so that our partners know exactly what they can buy, how they can buy it, and what that will yield for them in turn with their clients. So that's where we're trying to, the approach we want to take with IT services, which implies properly defining those offerings for IT services, which is what we're working on right now.
Do you partner with anybody like ConnectWise or
Yeah.
any other?
Yeah, in some instances we do, in some instances we do it ourselves. So
Okay. Yeah, ConnectWise seems to be making quite a nice splash out there. So
yeah.
kind of
We
interesting. And
also we also acquired a company specifically in Canada 2 years ago. It's not huge, it's not small, but I mean, it's driving a couple $100 million of revenue and it's not a print uh, dealer. They had, I think, a very very small print practice, but they are truly an IT service, a managed IT service provider, right? So looking at scaling that out, not just in Canada, but outside of Canada, to really look at leveraging. Is it through white labeling? Is it through different offerings that we can bring to market? And I think there's also an opportunity for some of our partners as we build our ecosystem to have them be a part of this as well, right? So I think that's to your earlier point on partnerships and reverse partnerships. So there's going to be an opportunity here for us to work together to capture this opportunity.
Great. I like that. Little out of the box. I think the dealers you can almost segment, right? By size and their capability. A lot of people want to get into IT services somehow or
Yeah,
dabbling, but they need help.
yeah,
So if that's kind of your focus, that would be a good value add, I think.
yeah.
So what about production print? How does that play out?
Yeah. So listen, I mean, we've been in production for a long time, right? So we've got great success with our Prime Link or Versa products, our Irides product. For the last few years, we've been accelerating, opening up those product lines to our dealers, right? So Irides, I think 2 years ago, we opened up to a larger group of dealers for them to sell for us. It's a great product. We got some great traction. Obviously, we recently announced that we would stop manufacturing the Nuveras and iGens, which are 20-year-old platforms, which our dealers were not selling. They were really focused on the those three products I gave you earlier. And I think we continue to see some tremendous opportunity in that space. Obviously, as we declare to the market, we're working on what's next when it comes to cut sheet inkjet. But between you and I, Mike, that's a very niche market. It's not a market that many dealers play in. So specific to our audience today, I mean, we've got a full lineup of production products that's been tried and tested. That's allowed us to gain some great market share, and we're excited about it. And I think we're excited about some product refreshes that are right around the corner. But I'll tell you this: we haven't built our success based on just the quality of our product. If Xerox stands out for one thing in the market, it's for the quality of the people we have supporting the product. The IP we have around it, the specialists, our iGen Tigers. The value we can bring by flying a client up to Rochester or Webster. I mean, no one can touch us when we do that, right? And I think that's where our partners and our dealers are really feeling what it means to be able to sell Xerox production.
So Xerox has been around 120 years.
Yeah.
That's what I heard you say. So I think I might be one of the few people left that actually may have met Chester Carlson, but when the message to the dealer community, what would that message be?
We're open for business. So specifically in production, we're in the production game. We're in the long game. So I mean, we're committed to being in that segment, and we're committed to the dealer channel. So I mean, that's the message I want them to take away. And I'd love to have the opportunity to have conversations with all of them about what that means for them and for us. I mean, this has to be a win-win. That's the true nature of partnerships. So I think that's the key message I want people to take away.
I have a couple of other quick questions. One is, do you have a favorite Sinatra song?
um, so listen, the first one that comes to mind is New York, New York.
All
Uh,
right.
and personally, each time I go to the city, I feel this incredible energy. There's something about that city when I'm walking there. You just get that, extra oomph of energy. I feel you get in Manhattan, and it's hard to get in any other city in the world. So, and being in the industry we're in, and high pace, high energy, it's something I always enjoy. So, I mean, the answer would be New York, based on the vibe it gets me.
Well, I can't argue that one. I love that one. I love the city, and I love every time they play it at the Yankee game. So
Yeah,
good choice. So when you're speaking with the dealers out there today,
yeah.
and you've got the huge mega dealers and the private equity people and the
Yeah.
smaller dealers. How are you approaching them differently? Is it the same Xerox storyline for everybody, or how do you modify for handling these five
Yeah.
hundred million dollar?
So it's similar in a sense that for all of them, we have to explain what is our strategy and our vision, right?
Yeah,
So that's the common denominator. And I think for the larger ones, it's really we get it to typically more conversations on coverage and how do we make sure that um, growth for them also represents growth for us, right? That's the conversation we get into, because obviously, it's no secret to anyone, we still have a large direct sales presence out there with our XBS cores. So and I'm very pragmatic about it to say, listen, we want to grow, you want to grow, and we understand that in order for us to do that together, we have to grow with net new clients together. So how can you leverage our Xerox brand, tool, resources to do that, which becomes a win for you and a win for us? Because this space well enough to know that no one's going to be interested from walking away from rebates or incentives from their current OEMs to give that away for ours. I mean, that's just left pocket, right pocket. If we want
Yeah.
our partners to grow, it's got to be net new growth, and it's got to be growth for us as well. So I think we get into probably more of those conversations with the bigger dealers, but I think with the reality, and Adam Gregory is a great reference for this. He reminds me often that the reality is the vast majority of dealers in the U.S. are about $12 million in size. That's the reality, right? And I think for them to pick up a brand like us can sometimes be life altering, right? So we got to make sure that's where we have these strategic conversations on placing bets and making sure that we understand why they want to pick up our brand. What can we bring to the table? Are we going to meet their requirements? Is it going to be a win-win for both sides? But ultimately, it really comes down to, can we help them grow, and can they help us grow? That's the meat and potatoes.
Well, I'll tell you one little quick story, and you might find it a little interesting. When I first got out of the Navy, the first interview for a job that I took was with Xerox,
Okay.
and it was it was a long time ago, but it was a remarkable experience then. And to your point about having great people, that process that they put me through as a candidate was enormously invaluable for the rest of my career. So I totally agree. I think the people that have come through Xerox and remain at Xerox are really your greatest asset. So that's just personal opinion for the audience. By the way, I didn't get hired. They needed people better than me. So anyway, Karl, I would ask probably one last final
Yeah.
question on the business front. Um, when you look at what you're trying to do as far as new products and next generation, you kind of touched
Yeah.
on that a little bit, and there is some, I think, curiosity about what that looks like. So
Yeah.
your commitment to this channel is obviously driven by a long term contracted or manufactured built.
100%.
So the industry and these folks that are listening can feel 100% confident that Xerox is going to deliver the goods.
110%.
Perfect. So with that, do you have any questions for me, Karl? Otherwise, I'm going to let you go.
No, I think this is great. I appreciate, again, like I said, the opportunity, and I'd welcome any feedback from your audience following this. I mean, we're in listening mode. We want to, we want again to strike some long term partnerships, and we're excited about the road ahead.
Well, it was a pleasure to get to meet you and know you a little bit more than just at a Canada dinner. So I look forward to having a beer with you sometime soon. But
Sounds
we're
good.
very, very honored and grateful that you stopped by today. And for everyone out there, Karl's got a very strong message. So I would definitely take him up on talking with him and his staff about doubling down on that business.
There
So
you go.
thank you, everybody. Thank you, Karl.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
My pleasure.